College football week 3 predictions here on the channel. Again, another week of picking every single college football game here in 2024. We've had a good first couple weeks, and now let's do it again here in week number 3. Again, make sure that subscribe button down below, folks, for weekly college football picks. Again, we break down every single game. We pick every game against the spread or with the spread, and we pick every game, of course, on pure winners as well. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, again, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. 2 days ago, we posted our UFC Noche UFC 306 predictions with Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley in the main event for the Bantamweight Championship. Yesterday, we posted our Bellator Champion Series London predictions with Leah McCourt and Sarah Collins in the main event. Yeah, that's a card. I don't know. It is. And also tomorrow, we will have our NFL week number 2 predictions. So make sure to come back to the channel tomorrow for that. All right. Let's do it. Every single college football game, and we start off here with everything on early Saturday or late Friday to Saturday afternoon. Again, we will go over the 14 best games later on in more detail, but these are everything else. So we start things off here with UNLV and Kansas. I am taking UNLV to cover 7. Again, Kansas is coming off loss in Illinois, in Champaign-Urbana. Again, UNLV hasn't looked bad. They've won back-to-back games. I think Matthew Sluka is really good, and I think he's very underrated. Of course, this is, I believe, a D2 guy coming in to the Mountain West. Again, UNLV's won back-to-back weeks. They went on the road to Houston, winning week number 1, and they blew out Utah Tech last week. I don't know if they win the football game, I'll be honest with you. I think they certainly have a chance. I would slightly favor Kansas to win at home, but definitely against the spread. Oh, I'm definitely taking UNLV to cover. I don't think Kansas can beat this team by more than a touchdown. I think this game's really close. If anything, you'll get a push on this game, but I think UNLV stays competitive on Friday night, and I think it's a very close game over in Kansas. On to Saturday, we start things off with Oklahoma State and Tulsa. I'm taking Oklahoma State to cover 20. I know the game is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but OK State's look pretty good so far. I know they have that close game against Arkansas, but I don't really trust Tulsa that much as a whole. This is a team that just lost to Arkansas State 28-24. They beat Northwestern State 62-28 in their first game, but again, Tulsa's not the same team that they were a couple years ago, I don't think. I think Oklahoma State's the way better team. Of course, Oklahoma State, we talk about every week, though. Ollie Gordon, Alan Bowman, again, that offense should be firing on all cylinders. They did pretty well against Arkansas last week. Ollie Gordon didn't have an Ollie Gordon-type performance, but Bowman was pretty good, 326 yards. Gordon had about 50 yards. And, of course, you got Presley at receiver as well. Again, this is a team that won in double overtime against Arkansas. They're able to score, and they should be able to put up numbers on the road against Tulsa. So give me Oklahoma State to cover that game and, of course, to win as well. Arkansas State versus Michigan. Of course, we were right on Michigan not being able to beat Texas and not covering that game either. Again, I thought that one was fairly easy. I think Texas right now might be the best team in college football. It's either them or Georgia. And when they meet up later this season, oh my goodness, that's going to be a football game. But anyways, I think Arkansas State's going to cover against Michigan. I don't think they go to the big house and win, obviously. But Michigan's getting 23 at home here, and Arkansas State has had 2 very close games, but they're not that bad, right? I mean, again, a win 34-31 against Central Arkansas. We just talked about Tulsa. They beat Tulsa by 4 points. Jalen Raynor is not horrible. I don't think this team's all that bad. Of course, Raynor's a dual threat quarterback. He's going to hurt you with his legs as much as he's going to hurt you with his arm. I think Arkansas State's able to remain competitive in this game. For Michigan, again, I don't know what the hell's going on with their offense, right? I mean, Donovan Edwards, is getting out-carried and out-snapped by Khalil Mullings, which I think is no surprise. I think Edwards is good, but I feel like he was a little bit overrated coming into the season, obviously being on the cover of the video game and whatnot. Davis Warren, I don't think is very good, but obviously, again, they see something out of Warren to show you that he's better than Orji. So obviously, I guess Orji just, he's never been the best thrower of the football, but Davis Warren is getting starts. Hell, Michigan's leading receiver, pure wide receiver in yards, is Samaj Morgan with 53 yards. Colston Loveland's got 157, but other than that, this offense just has not gotten going. We saw that in the Fresno State game. We saw that again against Texas. I think Michigan wins, but I'm not impressed with this team at all. I think Arkansas State easily covers. Central Michigan versus Illinois. I like Illinois to cover the 20 here. They're coming off, again, that win over Kansas where they beat, again, a ranked team. And I would say, yeah, Illinois is on the cusp of getting ranked here if they can beat Central Michigan. Central Michigan's a team that just got blown out at Florida International 52-16. That really shows you all you need to know. Illinois should win this game. They should win it pretty easily. NC State versus Louisiana Tech. I said at the beginning of the season, NC State was going to be a dark horse to win the ACC. I don't really think that right now. Obviously, after their game against Tennessee, I didn't think they were going to win that game against Tennessee. I didn't even think they were going to cover. but I thought they were going to keep that game somewhat competitive. Now we get NC State versus Louisiana Tech, and Louisiana Tech, they've only played one game this year. They barely got by Nichols by 8 points. Again, they're not going to beat NC State, but 21.5 I think is kind of a lot for an NC State team that's been very underwhelming so far. They only beat West Carolina by 17 points in their opener. That's an FCS school. I think they win this game against Louisiana Tech, but winning this game by more than 3 touchdowns I think is very tough for them. I think, again, NC State wins the football game, but we get Louisiana Tech on the cover. Next up, we will have a game in Oxford, Ohio, Miami of Ohio versus Cincinnati. I don't know why Cincinnati's only getting 2.5 points on the road here. They should easily cover this line. Miami of Ohio, they played a game 13-6, lost to Northwestern. We just saw Northwestern last Friday night, lose to Duke in overtime or double overtime. Cincinnati's not that bad of a football team. They are truly not. They lost to Pitt by 1 point. Now, we got that right. I was telling everybody that Pitt was going to win that game, and I think Pitt's very solid. But anyways, they barely lose to Pitt. They beat Townsend week 1. All right, whatever. They barely beat them by 18 points. But still, I don't think Cincinnati should be underdogs on the road against Miami. I think, again, if Cincinnati went to play Northwestern, I think they'd win too. I get it. Miami of Ohio is one of the better teams in the MAC. Obviously, I think we're thinking North Illinois right now is the best team in the Mid-American, but still, God, definitely not Kent State. My goodness, losing to St. Francis, PA. That's a whole nother thing. We're going to get to Kent State later. But, Miami of Ohio, I don't think, again, they're a good MAC school. I don't think they're able to beat a Big 12 team, though, here in Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's kind of getting, I don't like that line a lot, or I do like that line. I think that line should be a lot bigger for Cincinnati, only getting 2.5. I understand they're on the road, but again, Cincinnati had Pitt last week, and they just lost it at the end of the game. Give me Cincinnati to cover and win easily against Miami of Ohio. Texas Tech taking on North Texas. I'm taking Texas Tech to win at home and to cover. I get it. They lost by 21 points to Washington State. It is what it is. You go on the road to Pullman. That's a tough environment on the road, kind of late at night, right? Especially a team coming from Texas all the way to Washington. North Texas hasn't really impressed me at all this season so far. They beat SF Austin. They beat South Alabama. Again, they are able to put up points. I don't mind Chandler Morris at all. I think he's a good quarterback who can really air it out. But again, I don't think this team's able to keep up with Texas Tech. I think the Texas Tech defense will really be able to hone in this game. I understand they just gave up 37 points to Washington State, but the North Texas offense is not bad. I just think the Texas Tech defense is going to be able to stop them, and I think Texas Tech should be able to pull away slightly in this game. So give me the Red Raiders to win and to cover in that game. Buffalo versus UMass, another game that I think is really, I think it's mispriced. I think Buffalo destroys UMass. I said that earlier in the season when Buffalo played Lafayette, they were only like a 5.5 point favorites against an FCS school, and they easily covered that game. I really like them to cover here against Massachusetts. I think UMass is horrible. Again, back-to-back losses to East Michigan and Toledo. When you consider the Minutemen against a lot of these MAC schools, and again, UMass is an independent, but when you consider them against a lot of these MAC schools, I think they're just a lot worse. I don't think UMass is very good. They're able to remain competitive in these games, but in the end, again, they just find themselves getting pulled away from. Again, the East Michigan game, East Michigan was in control the entire game. They kind of had that 14-point cushion on them pretty much throughout that entire game. Toledo was beating up on UMass. And UMass now has to go on the road to Buffalo. Again, Buffalo's not going to blow you away by any proportion. I understand they just got beat up pretty bad in their last game against Missouri. But their run game is really not all that bad. They should be able to pound the rock in this game against Massachusetts. And I think they win this game by more like double digits, 10, 13 points. I think, 4 points only for Buffalo at home is very mispriced. Give me the Bulls to win that game and them to win that game pretty easily. We now go to our next one. I got Temple to cover 17.5 at home against Coastal Carolina. Don't get me wrong, Coastal Carolina is going to win the football game. That's a very, easy pick there. But I think Temple's able to remain somewhat competitive. Now, I understand Temple has not looked good in their first couple games, but I just don't think Coastal Carolina is able to get that many points away from Temple. 17 is a lot. On the road, again, they went to Jacksonville State, and yes, they dominated, but they only beat William and Mary at home by 19 points. I understand they were up, fairly big at halftime, and they kind of just coasted throughout the rest of that game. And again, teams don't play based on the spread. They play to win. Again, if Coastal Carolina is up by 20 points at halftime and they kind of just coast again, all Temple's got to do is outscore them by 7 points in the second half. And again, they cover the spread. I think this is going to be a backdoor cover for Temple. Obviously, I think Coastal Carolina is going to be in control this entire game. Temple, again, got bitched in their first game against Oklahoma. They lost 38-11 to Navy in their last game. They should be able to keep it somewhat competitive, though, and they should be able to stay in this football game. I think Temple will cover, but obviously lose by about 14 points. But I think Temple will slightly cover that football game. Miami take it on Ball State. Give me Miami to cover the 36.5. Again, I would never play this personally, but I think if you are going to make a pick here, I think Miami should absolutely run through Ball State. We've seen Ball State once so far this year. They only beat Missouri State by 8 points. I'm really not impressed with anything Ball State does. Miami is... Again, I wasn't buying in at the beginning of the season to Miami. I kind of, am starting to buy in, and I really don't think we see Miami hit a true test until they go on the road to Louisville in October. I mean, you look at what Miami's got coming up. At USF's not going to be it's going to be a tough matchup, but not that tough of a game for them. For VTech at home, they should be able to go right through. Actually, no. Cal is going to be their first tough game. Cal is actually surprising me a lot, and we will get to Cal later, but Cal goes on the road to Auburn. I don't think that's that bad of a football team. Miami's first true test, though, comes to the first week of October when they have to go to Berkeley. Right now, they are going to destroy these teams. I think they should be able to cover against Ball State, but again, 36.5 points is a lot for anybody to cover. I think Miami will do it, but we'll see. Ball State gives up a lot of points. Their offense can score, but I just think, again, Miami should be scoring touchdowns in every single drive of this football game. All right, Oklahoma versus Tulane. I think Oklahoma covers the 14 at home. Tulane's coming off that loss to K-State at home last week. Oklahoma was very iffy in that game against Houston. Don't get me wrong. They only beat that Houston team by 4 points. Yeah, I think they are, though, able to put up points against Tulane. I think Tulane's defense does leave a lot to be desired. This is a week where Oklahoma's offense should be able to bounce back, put up a lot of points, and prepare themselves for that game next week against Tennessee. Because, again, the Oklahoma that beat Houston last week is not prepared to play Tennessee next week. We will see what Jackson Arnold does. He's been decent, I guess, kind of. Their run game needs to get going. I think Oklahoma, though, should be able to put up points against Tulane again. And then after this game, of course, put their full attention on Tennessee, because my goodness, that is going to be a football game coming up next week. On to our next one, Florida versus Texas A&M. Just a game that, again, two teams that have been disappointing so far this year. Let's just say it what it is. I think Florida actually will cover at home. I understand they looked horrible against Miami, but that's Miami. And A&M, all right, they lost to Notre Dame, and, we're going to get to Notre Dame later. I will go on my little spiel about Notre Dame when they go to West Lafayette. But these are two teams in A&M and Florida who lost their first game to, schools that they were supposed to be competitive with, and, schools that I picked them both to beat, but that's neither here or there. A&M goes and beats McNeese last week. Florida beats Samford. Again, who gives a damn? I think Florida is the better football team still. A&M, losing to Notre Dame, that's not horrible, but, I just don't think A&M's offense is very good. I just don't think it is. Florida's offense does leave a lot to be desired as well, but I think Florida's just able to win the football game outright. They are in Gainesville. Florida at home should win this game, and I am taking them on the points as well. So give me Florida to win and to cover, obviously, at the same time. We now go to Nevada versus Minnesota. Nevada's oddly been very competitive in a lot of football games. They're not that great, but they've been able to cover, so we're going to take them to cover again. They're 1-2, but they've been in, again, a lot of close games. Minnesota, of course, is now they are with Max Brosmer. Brosmer's been pretty good for them as a whole. He's been decent. I just don't think they're able to pull away from Nevada like that. I think Nevada will cover the 16.5 because you just look at what Nevada's done this season. Now, again, they lost to SMU. They beat Troy by 2 points. They lost to Georgia Southern by 3. These are all one-score games. Their biggest margin of defeat is 5 points. And you're telling me they're not going to be able to keep within 16 of Minnesota? Minnesota's offense isn't that good. Nevada is able to remain competitive. Their defense is able to keep them in games. Their offense is not that bad either. Yeah, give me Nevada to stay in the game and to cover. Obviously, Minnesota is going to win the game at home, but I think Nevada does remain in the football game and is able to cover the spread. Iowa versus Troy. Iowa, man. I mean, last week, it was disappointing. It was disappointing out of Iowa, obviously, right? I mean, this is a school, again, that they're in control of that entire game against Iowa State. And Iowa State just, comes back in the end and, pulls the rug underneath them. That's probably a horrible analogy. Or pulls the chair. That's what I was looking for. Pulls the chair from underneath them. Iowa, this is a bounce back opportunity at home against a very lowly Troy team. Again, I will make the case, and, Iowa's defense, they're still good, right? Like, they gave up 20 points to Iowa State. Well, damn it, the offense should be able to score more. And the thing is, the offense for Iowa looked pretty good at the beginning of that game. The run game was getting going. They were really controlling the field battle of that game. I'll be honest, I stopped watching in the third quarter. I picked up watching it later. But when I stopped watching at halftime, I was like, all right, we're good with Iowa here. The defense is playing well, and they still played well throughout the rest of that game. It's just, their offense has got to, complement them a little bit, and they're just not going to. Caden McNamara in that offense is just not good. They got to get that run game going against Troy. And the way I put this, again, with Iowa's first game against Illinois State, I think they were 27.5-point favorites. I could be wrong on that line. But my thing was, again, I don't think Illinois State's able to score. They obviously didn't. They scored 0 points. My thing with Troy is the max amount of points they're going to score is 7 this week. Do you think Iowa can put up 30 points? I think they can against Troy. I think they can. Troy got 38, hung on them against Memphis. Nevada put up 28. Iowa should be able to put up 30. And on top of that, who knows if Troy even gets in the end zone? I mean, they might score 6, 3 points, 0. Iowa should be able to hold them, and Iowa should be able to win the football game, and they should be able to cover. All right, to our next one, we have got Appalachian State going on the road to East Carolina. We're taking East Carolina, the Pirates, as home underdogs. I'm taking them to win the football game outright. Again, when I see two evenly matched teams, like I see App State and East Carolina, I am going to tend to take the team at home who is getting the points. I'm taking East Carolina here. Again, they won a close game last week on the road at ODU. Good win for them, right? Rajai Harris ran for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a very solid back for this ECU team. App State just went to get killed at Clemson last week at Death Valley. Again, you've got one team that's 2-0, riding the highs of a good win on the road, and you got App State who just got off getting beat up by 46 points. Give me East Carolina. I'm taking the Pirates at home. I like their rushing attack a lot. They should be able to work the clock a lot in this game, control the football, control the time of possession, and that's why I'm taking East Carolina to win the football game. Again, when you get two very evenly matched teams, you normally take, unless you got a hunch either way, you normally take the home team who is the underdog. I'm taking East Carolina to win this football game and, of course, to cover the spread as well. Next up, we have got UAB versus Arkansas. UAB's just been so bad this season. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what completely happened to UAB. I don't know if they're getting completely, out hustled in the portal or they're just not recruiting well, because UAB's just been bad this season. They won their first game against Alcorn, but okay, the game that just stands out to me is UL Monroe. They looked horrible in that Monroe game. They could not get the offense started. They could not get anything going. UL Monroe, again, dominated them on the other side of the football. Arkansas is coming off an 8-point loss to Oklahoma State, but this game should look very similar to that Arkansas Pine Bluff game. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win 70-0 and they're going to have to shorten the game at halftime because it's getting too out of hand. But what I am saying is that Arkansas should control the football this entire game. They should be able to put up numbers against UAB, and the game should not be competitive. Give me Arkansas to win, and give me Arkansas to win by a very large margin. To our next game, Utah versus Utah State. I'm actually taking Utah State to cover at home. I know they just lost 48-0 against USC. I completely get that. And Bryson Barnes has not been the same guy that he was at Utah. Of course, he's transferred obviously because Cam Rising is back, because Cam Rising is a super senior, but it is what it is, right? Bryson Barnes did not play that great of a football game last week. He just didn't. But that's against USC. I'm willing to look past that, and I think that the Utah State Aggies, they're not going to win this football game, but I think they lose by 21 points, which would cover the spread. I don't think Utah beats them by more than 3 touchdowns. USC is just a really good football team. Utah beat Baylor by 11 points. Utah State's got to be somewhat motivated, right? If you're Bryson Barnes, you've got this 25-year-old who is still in college football lining up against you he's on the other team. He's the other quarterback. Are you going to let that guy beat you by more than 21 points? Nope. Bryson Barnes is 19, 20 years old. Not going to let that happen. Not going to let the guy who's 6 years older than him still in college beat him in this football game. Well, actually, Utah's going to win the football game, but I think Utah State remains competitive. This is more of just a motivation thing. I think Utah State stays in the football game at home. Give me Utah State to cover. Obviously, the Utes, though, will win this game. That's not really a hot take at all. Duke versus UConn. Give me Duke to cover the 16.5. Duke did us right last week. I really like that pick. Duke on the road against Northwestern. And again, the difference between that and the App State East Carolina game is that I just think Duke's the better football team. And obviously they went on the road in a game that was supposed to be close on paper, and it was, but the close football game, again, I thought just Duke was the better football team, right? That's what my algorithm told me. That's a joke. But anyways, Duke, again, they're not horrible, right? UConn lost by 43 points to Maryland. Duke has not put up great numbers just yet this season. They have not scored more than 26 points, but at the same time, they still put up 26 points this week. I think they're good. I think they are, actually, because I don't really know if UConn can score 10 points on Duke. Truly. So I think Duke wins this game. I think they put up like 31 points, and I think that UConn puts up like 7, maybe 10 max. But that still would mean Duke would cover. So give me the Blue Devils at home to cover against UConn. I mean, that would be one killer basketball matchup. Hopefully we get that later this season. I don't know the college basketball schedule off the top of my head, so I don't know if that game's actually happening. I could do college basketball picks this year, though. Like, again, we can get to that later on in the year. Anyways, last game on this slate. We've got more coming up. VTech versus ODU. Give me Old Dominion to cover at home. Yeah. Games in Norfolk. Give me ODU. I understand they're 0-2, but they've lost 2 very close games. VTech does not blow me away at all. They lost to Vandy. Yeah, they beat Marshall, but it's the Thundering Herd. Old Dominion should be able to remain within 14 points in this football game. They should, right? Losing a 6-point game to East Carolina, losing a 4-point game to South Carolina. Yeah, give me ODU to remain competitive in this football game. They will lose, but they will lose this game by 10 points. All right, VTech does not blow me away at all. Again, ODU still doesn't win a football game, right? Kyron Drones just been okay this season. I think ODU is going to be able to cover this football game. All right, I think Virginia Tech wins, but at home, give me ODU to cover. All right, on to our next slate. Yep, we've got a lot more. FAU versus FIU. Give me Florida Atlantic to cover the 5.5 at home. They've lost 2 games. I understand that. And FIU has beat Central Michigan. But FAU has played decent teams. I actually think Army's not that bad this year. Bryson Daly's really commanding that offense over at West Point, right? FAU only lost by 6 points to Michigan State. It all of a sudden, again, I got this one right last week. I was trying to tell everyone, again, Michigan State was going to go to Maryland and win the football game. They did. I don't think Michigan State's all that bad. I don't think Army's that bad. FAU gets a bounce back opportunity at home this week against FIU, who did put up a lot of points against Central Michigan, but Central Michigan's not that good of a football team. They're just not. They lost to Indiana by 24 points, and IU just put up 77 points last week against West Illinois. Right? As soon as I leave the school, that's what they do. But it is what it is. I think FAU will cover and they will win at home against Florida International. Even though I would not be surprised in the slightest, though, if the Panthers go into Boca Raton and win that football game. All right, I would not be surprised. But give me Florida Atlantic to win that one. We now go on to Liberty versus UTEP. Give me the Flames. The Flames only beat New Mexico by 6 last week. Rough game on the road. That's a long distance from where they are in Virginia. It is what it is. The Miners have been bad. UTEP, they lost to Southern Utah last week by 3. They got killed at Nebraska, obviously. I don't think UTEP's that good of a football team. I think Liberty is a good football team. I think, again, whoever gets out of the G5 this year and makes it to the postseason, I think it's going to come down to Liberty. I hope for Western Kentucky, but I'm going to kind of eliminate them from this elite group. It's either Liberty or Boise State. Fresno State, maybe. But I think it's Liberty and Boise State are the 2 best G5 teams, and one of those teams is going to find their way in the playoffs. Liberty's still good. They are. Again, they had a close game last week on the road against New Mexico State. But guys, that's the second toughest game they play all season. I think it is. Truly. New Mexico State's not that bad. Their next toughest game is Western Kentucky, but they get that game at home. Liberty should still be undefeated this season, and they should be on their way to the postseason. They should be. Right? There's a world where both Liberty and Boise State get in the postseason. One of them just gets an at-large. It would have to be Boise, I think. But I think if Boise's able to stay competitive with a lot of these schools, they lost to Oregon by 6, they might be able to get that at-large. We'll see. I like Ashton Genty a lot. We'll see, again, what Boise does down the stretch of the season. But yeah, give me Liberty to win and to cover at home. Next up, Wake Forest and Ole Miss. I thought about giving this game a feature game, but I just think Ole Miss goes in there and kills them. That's why I'm not going to really talk about it that much. Ole Miss's offense has looked like the best in college football so far, and I get it. They've only beat, Furman and, Middle Tennessee. But Jackson Dart is in the Heisman race, and he is well in the Heisman race. We will see what he gets to do on the road at Winston-Salem against another Power 4 school, which they have not faced so far this season. But Wake Forest was up against Virginia. They lost it in the fourth quarter. This game should not be competitive. Ole Miss should run right through Wake Forest. And again, we've been waiting to see how good the Rebels really are. Well, this is the game we're going to see how good they are. Because again, they're ranked 5. Other than this, I really don't think Ole Miss has got a tough matchup until they go to South Carolina. I think they go right through Georgia Southern. Obviously, Georgia Southern's a team that can't score points, but I would obviously expect Ole Miss to roll them. And Kentucky as well, I'd expect Ole Miss to roll them too. This is a big test for Ole Miss. We will see how good the Rebels truly are. I like Jackson Dart a lot. Again, this guy is well in the Heisman race right now. Give me Ole Miss to win this football game, and I'm going to take them to absolutely steamroll Wake Forest on the road. UTSA versus Texas. We talked about the best offenses in college football. Texas might be the other best college football offense. I mean, again, this team is absolutely insane. Seriously. Texas, I think, is the number one team in the country right now. Going to Michigan, going to the reigning national champions, and going into their place and winning the game by winning the game by 19 points. Yeah, that's big time. We talked about, again, Jackson Dart might be the favorite to win the Heisman. Well, Quinn Ewers might be that guy as well. I mean, that's kind of your Heisman race right now. Carson Beck's in there too, but those are your top guys. Ashton Genty, obviously, as well from Boise State, but I mean, I just don't know if they really going to give a Heisman to a running back at Boise State. I would hope they would, but I mean, that's your kind of Heisman race right now, right? Ewers, Dart, Beck, Genty. I mean, those are your guys currently. Jackson Dart, again, he's done everything asked of him so far. Texas will not play a real competitive football game, I think, until they go and play Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Now, that's going to be a football game. But right now, Texas is the best team in the country, in my opinion. They're able to kill teams on the ground and on the, through the air. Their defense is, stifling teams. UTSA is just not very good. They're coming off a 39-point loss to Texas State. Guys, Texas only getting 34.5 in this game. Texas State was able to cover that line against UTSA. What the hell is Texas going to do at home in Austin? Come on now. Texas covers and they win pretty easily. Next up, Vandy versus Georgia State. Can't believe it, but I'm taking Vandy to cover on the road. Yeah, I am. Give me the Commodores. Guys, the Commodores haven't been that bad this season. Now, that's going to come to an end next week when they go to Mizzou, but they have not been horrible so far this year. They really haven't. They've won back-to-back football games. They at home beat VTech. They beat Alcorn State. They did what they needed to do at Alcorn State, beat them 55-0. Now they get Georgia State, a team that lost to Georgia Tech and almost lost to Chattanooga, an FCS school. Fine by me. Vanderbilt should go in there and they should absolutely run this football game. Give me Vandy to destroy Georgia Tech and really just control this football game. Now, again, the Vandy run's going to come to an end next week, but this team is playing with fire. They are playing with momentum right now, and I think they're going to carry that to this game on the road at Georgia State. I think, again, the only reason Georgia State is getting 10.5 in this game is because, one, the Vandy name, and two, it's at Georgia State. I don't think that matters too much. Give me Vandy to win the football game. Next up, East Michigan taking on Jacksonville State. I don't mind this East Michigan team at all this season, right? I mean, I took them to beat Massachusetts. That was one of my bigger lock picks on week 1. I like them a lot to beat Jacksonville State, right? Again, Eastern Michigan went on the road. They lost to Washington. They didn't get killed, though. Right? I mean, Will Rogers played well, threw 4 touchdowns in that game, but Washington only beat them by 21 points, which is not that bad when you think about it. It's really not, right? Again, it could have been a lot worse for the Eagles. They now get Jacksonville State at home. They're only getting 1.5, and Jacksonville State has not been in a competitive football game so far this season. They got destroyed by Coastal Carolina. Louisville, I understand Louisville's ranked, but they went on the road and got destroyed against Louisville. Eastern Michigan should have their way in this football game. Guys, the line's only 1.5. I think this should be more at 5.5, and Eastern Michigan should win this game by double digits. They should. On paper, they should. I like them a lot in the UMass game. I think you can find really good value in the CUSA and the MAC at times. I like East Michigan. They are one of my teams in the MAC one of my sneaky teams in the MAC that I like, them in Buffalo. I think East Michigan should win this game. They should win it pretty handily, especially at home, too. Especially at home. Give me the Eagles, Eastern Michigan, to win that game pretty decisively. San Jose State versus Kennesaw State. I might be going to this game. I might miss, the first fight of the main card on the Sphere card this week for the UFC. So that means I won't be able to watch O'Day Osborne. But I might go to this game. San Jose State, I said it last week again, we took them as 6.5-point underdogs at Air Force. We took them to outright win, and what happened? I tried to say it. They were perfectly prepared for Air Force because of the rushing attack of Sac State. That's all Sacramento State does, and that's all Sacramento State does well. Well, now again, they went into Air Force and won that game. They completely shut down the Air Force. They won that game by 10 points, 17-7. Perfect. Their defense is good. Again, Sac State's one of the better football teams that team's going to play. Next week, San Jose State at Washington State. That's a big football game on Friday night. We will get to that. That's going to be a featured game next week, as long as San Jose State does what we think they're going to do at home against Kennesaw this week, right? Emmett Brown's not horrible, right? I like Nash as well, their star receiver. If that offense is able to really get going, they're a good football team, and they should be able to cover the 19.5 easily against Kennesaw State. Guys, look out. But don't look now, but San Jose State legitimately could be a playoff team. Just look at their schedule. I'm just saying. I think this team has potential, possibly, if they can beat Boise at home, to win the Mountain West and either go 11-1 or 12-0. They have the capability. They have the capability. I'm serious. They play Stanford. They should beat Stanford. They get Boise at home. We'll see. They go to Fresno, the rivalry game. We'll see again. I'll probably go to that game. We'll see, right? I'm high on San Jose State. Maybe it's because I live 10 minutes away from the college. I don't go to the school, but I like San Jose State a lot. Give me the Spartans to win and give me them to cover as well. Okay, on to our next one. We have got Western Kentucky versus Middle Tennessee State. Again, Western Kentucky is one of the schools that I was, again, high on to be one of the G5, contenders at least, in terms of making the playoffs. I think they cover the 7.5 on the road against Middle Tennessee, right? TJ Finley got it together a lot in that Eastern Kentucky game, right? That was the game that I think TJ Finley needed. Obviously, the former Texas State quarterback really needed to just, get honed in with the offense. Sometimes you need that FCS game, right? Middle Tennessee barely beat Tennessee Tech week 1 by 7. They got killed at Ole Miss last week, which, who cares? Ole Miss is really good. By the way, the SEC. Oh, the SEC's good. I mean, seriously. The top 4 teams in college football right now might all be SEC schools. Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Bama. I mean, seriously. The SEC is crazy this season. But anyways, Western Kentucky should be able to beat Middle Tennessee, and they should be able to run right through them. I still think Western Kentucky's a pretty good football team. And that goes to show you how good Alabama is. Western Kentucky, I think, is going to be in the CUSA championship game against Liberty. They lost by 63 points in Tuscaloosa. TJ Finley's not bad. That receiving core is not horrible. I like Western Kentucky a lot. I think they go on the road. I think they cover easily against Middle Tennessee. I think there is a big gap between Liberty, Western Kentucky, and the rest of the CUSA. I might be forgetting a team here, but those are by far the 2 best teams in the CUSA this season, I think. I just think. We'll see. Hawaii against Sam Houston. I'm actually taking Hawaii to go on the road and win. I understand this is a very far flight for them, but I'm not that impressed with Sam Houston State. They beat Rice, but Rice isn't great. They lost to UCF. Hawaii, I picked against them twice so far this season. Now, I don't know if it's just UCLA is not very good, but they were able to remain very competitive against UCLA. They were controlling the football a lot in that first half, and they really just fell apart in the second. I think Hawaii is able to go on the road here and beat Sam Houston State. Sam Houston does not blow me away at all. This is still a team that is very new to FBS football. It's only their second year. I don't mind this Hawaii Rainbow Warriors team at all. I don't think they're all that bad. Give me Hawaii to go on the road and win this football game. They only lost by 3 last week. If their offense can get going, Braden Schrager needs to get going. But, I don't really mind this team at all. Their running game is god-awful. It's pitiful. Maybe that's because they play 2 pretty solid run defenses in, I guess, Delaware State and UCLA. I think they should be able to get going against the Bearcats, though. I don't rate Sam Houston that highly, so give me Hawaii to go on the road and win. I don't think the Mountain West is that bad this season. At the beginning of the year, I was kind of iffy on them. I don't really think they're that horrible. After watching the Mountain West this season, I don't think they're that bad. USF and Southern Miss. Give me Southern Miss to cover the 12 at home. I think that's just too much, personally, for USF to cover. I understand Southern Miss lost 31-0 their first game against Kentucky, but they didn't look bad last week in Southeast Louisiana like they're supposed to. USF was competitive early against Alabama, but then, of course, Alabama ended up steamrolling them. I think USF wins the game by 10 points. Okay, I think Southern Miss barely covers, but I definitely think USF wins the football game. All right, so again, not that high on either of these teams, but I think USF's a better team. I just think 12 points is a lot for them to cover on the road. New Mexico versus Auburn. That's too many points. That's way too many points for Auburn. New Mexico covers this game. They're only going to lose it by about 14 points. New Mexico is not that bad of a football team. They are one of these teams that are just good enough to lose by a short, I messed this up. They're good enough. They're one of these teams that's just good enough to lose by a very small margin. Okay? Watch both their games against Montana State and against Arizona. This team's not that bad. Their defense is pitiful. I'll tell you that. They cannot tackle. I don't know who the D coordinator is. I don't know who's instructing these guys how to tackle, but they don't know how to do it. Anyways, their offense, not that bad. Devin Dampier is actually really good. I think he is. He's a very good dual threat quarterback. I watched that full Arizona game last 2 weeks ago. Yeah, New Mexico's not that bad of a football team. And especially against an Auburn team that's coming off a loss to California, which it is what it is, you know? It really is what it is. Maybe Cal's not that bad this season, truly. I just don't think they are. I don't think Cal's that bad of a school. Auburn, guys, that 14 points against Cal. Pretty sure Davis put up more points than that. Peyton Thorne's been just very iffy this season. He can't hold on to the football. His, touchdown interception ratio is 5-4. It's not great. I think Auburn wins the football game, but okay, New Mexico will lose by about 14. It's okay. I'm gonna say it. I think it's worth the sprinkle. Like literally $5. Put $5 on New Mexico and just hope. But you'll get it. Okay, you'll get the rest of your money covered if you bet on New Mexico to cover the spread. Put $5 on the Lobos to win. They probably won't, but I think there's an outside chance. Truly, I think there's an outside chance that New Mexico wins this football game. I don't think Auburn's very good. I think New Mexico is a high-scoring Mountain West team that just can't play defense. But if they can get into a shootout and Devin Dampier can get going with Luke Weissong, hey man, see what happens. I don't know. Auburn probably wins, but I don't think it's that horrible of a bet on New Mexico. Definitely, though, the Lobos cover. Next up, Toledo versus Mississippi State. Taking Mississippi State to cover the 11.5 at home. They lost to Arizona State last week. Excuse me, I'm still sick. Anyways, Toledo, looked decent against Massachusetts last week, beat Duquesne by 39 points, but again, this is a whole nother animal. You're going on the road to Mississippi State. Tucker Gleason's not bad. He's really not. But Mississippi State should be able to go out there, and they should be able to control this football game. I think they win it by 2 touchdowns, right? And that's enough to cover. Toledo's getting some respect here on the road, especially because of Mississippi State's last loss at Arizona State. But I say that all the time, man. Going to Tempe, Tempe is where ranked teams or just Power 4 teams, Power 5 teams go to die. It just is, Tempe's a hard place to play. It's hot. You're all the way in Arizona. You're likely playing at 8 p.m. West Coast time. If you're on the East Coast, that's 11 o'clock at night. That's a rough game. It is to any team. And Mississippi State was able to remain competitive. They lost, but they were able to remain competitive. So I'm not that low on the Bulldogs right now. I think they win that game, and they win it pretty decisively. Air Force versus Baylor. Give me Baylor to cover the 15.5. I think, yeah, give me Baylor to cover. Team surprised me a little bit against Utah, right? Again, the offense, needs to get going more. But, you can make the case Daquan Finn outplayed Cam Rising. Cam Rising's just there, I guess, completed 8 passes all game long. If it's not for the blocked field goal, this game's a lot closer, right? I don't think Baylor's all that bad. I really don't think they are. I still think Daquan Finn is a very capable P4 quarterback. Air Force just got killed last week at home against San Jose State, and I think San Jose State's very good. But I'm a realist here. Baylor's better than San Jose State, so Baylor should be able to dominate this football game. They should be able to control it from pillar to post, and Baylor should be able to win this game pretty decisively. I don't think it's that close of a contest. Give me the Bears to win by, 21 points. If they can shut down Air Force's offense, they can shut down the wing T. Again, it should be, the modified wing T, it should be game over for Air Force. Give me Baylor to win. Give me Baylor pretty decisively. Oh, man. Kent State versus Tennessee. So, if you didn't know, Kent State last week had a home game against an FCS school, and they lost to St. Francis, PA, 23-17. This is a football game that they were losing for most of the football game. They were down at one point. What were they down? I was watching some of this game. They were down 20-7 at one point in this football game. 17-0 at one point against Kent State. I don't know what's going on. Again, Kent State's offense is horrible. They run 3 plays the entire football game, and it's the easiest key on literally everything. It's horrible. I don't really think it's the offense's fault. Cardman's not a horrible quarterback. I prefer Tommy Uliktowski, but it's fine. I don't think Cardman's that bad. They've got Krishawn McCray. Luke Flory is not a horrible receiver at all. But they run the same 3 plays over and over and over again, and they're so predictable. Whoever the offensive coordinator is at Kent State, I don't know what to say, man. It's just Tennessee, and they're playing Tennessee. They're going to Rocky Top, Tennessee's going to destroy this team. This is going to be 70-0. That's what this game's going to be. It's going to be 70-0. The Volunteers are so much better. They just beat NC State, obviously, last week. Tennessee's really good, and Kent State, I'm sorry, is probably the worst team in college football right now. Seriously. They got to be the worst team. They are, and you know what? It gets better for the Golden Flashes next week because they get to go to Penn State next week. Oh my goodness. It is bad. And Penn State's going to be motivated for that game because they had a very close game against Bowling Green. They're going to run right through Kent State. I would hate to be on Kent State right now. I'm just saying, I would hate to be on that team. Let's go to our next one. Maryland and Virginia. I think Maryland covers on the road. This is just the thing. The Big Ten's better than the ACC. So a lower level Big Ten team should be able to beat a lower level ACC school. Okay, Virginia, actually, I'd say Virginia's middle of the pack, right? But Virginia beats Wake Forest by 1. Again, they come back and they win that football game. Maryland just lost a close one to Michigan State. Not a horrible loss at all, right? I really don't think Michigan State's that bad of a football team. I think Maryland's still decent. Again, I think the Big Ten is, other than the SEC, the best conference in college football. As a whole, Maryland should be able to go on the road and beat UVA here. I'm not too worried about this game being in Charlottesville. Again, the line would be much larger if this game was A, at a neutral site, B, at Maryland. It's just, again, because this game is in Charlottesville is why Maryland's only getting 2.5. Give me Maryland to easily win this game and to easily cover. Next up, Rice and Houston, both really bad football teams. Truly, this is a bad football game, but Rice is just worse. Rice is not good. They beat Texas Southern, but Texas Southern's horrible, so I'm not putting anything in that football game. Houston is a pitiful Big 12 school that was actually able to remain competitive, though, with Oklahoma on the road. So there's hope, because they lost to UNLV by more than they lost to Oklahoma then. It was weird. Houston should be able to win this game by a touchdown. Their offense has been very bad so far this season. Obviously, they've only scored 19 points. But they should be able to get it going this week. They should be able to beat Rice. Rice is not that good. Houston's defense is solid, so if they're able to stop Rice, which they should, their offense should be able to take over this football game. Again, 7 points will cover the spread for you in this one, so give me Houston to win this game and to take it pretty easily. By a score or two, give me Houston to win and to cover. Brigham Young versus Wyoming. Wyoming, I didn't think was going to be this bad this season, but they're just this bad. I got nothing else to say. They're just not that good this season. BYU beat SMU by 3 points, okay? But it's just more of Wyoming. I don't know. I guess Idaho's not that bad of a football team, right? I mean, again, they had a competitive game with Oregon, and, they beat Wyoming. So maybe Idaho deserves to be back up in the FBS level. That might be a thing. But still, if you're Wyoming, week 1, you lose at Tempe by 41 points. You lose to Idaho by 4 points the next week. Brigham Young, their offense is just, it just is. But, we'll see. We'll see if they can get going. I think they can. And they should be able to control this game against Wyoming on the road. I'm not too concerned with this game being in Laramie. BYU should be able to control this game from pillar to post, and BYU should be able to win the football game. All right, Cal versus San Diego State. We're taking Cal to cover the 18.5. Don't look now, but the Golden Bears might be, one of the better teams in the ACC. San Diego State, I watched them play Oregon State. God, they got control of that entire football game. We'll talk about Oregon State a little bit more later. But yeah, San Diego State, I don't know if that was just, that Oregon State's pretty good this season, or it's just San Diego State's just, they got that game at home and they couldn't score. They had the ball at one point on the 3-yard line. They fumbled on a read option and their quarterback kept. That was great. But other than that, San Diego State really didn't have many opportunities to score. Oregon State really controlled that football game. San Diego State's offense looked very, bad. They had a lot of 3-and-outs in that football game. Cal should be able to control this one throughout its entirety, and the Bears, I think, absolutely smash San Diego State here. I don't think this game's really close. The Golden Bears, again, a win against a very good FCS school in UC Davis, a win over Auburn on the road in Alabama. I mean, you'll take both those victories, man. California, they are going to be favorites, I think, on the road next week at Florida State. I think they will be. Give me the Golden Bears to win and to cover at home. And our final game, before we get into the features, Fresno State versus New Mexico State. I'm taking New Mexico State to cover the 20. And I was very high on Fresno State to start the season. And don't get me wrong, I still kind of am. Again, just because I'm not taking a team to cover 20 points doesn't mean I'm not high on the team. It's just, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points for Fresno State to cover. New Mexico State was able to remain competitive against Liberty. They barely beat Southeastern Missouri, but it is what it is. If you're able to remain competitive with Liberty, you should be able to remain competitive with Fresno State. I think they lose the football game by about 17 points. But Fresno State, again, will be able to pull away from this one, but I think New Mexico State still covers. And again, winning the game by 17 points is not bad. I like Mikey Keene a lot. I think Keene's one of the better quarterbacks in the Mountain West. They put up 46 points against a good FCS school in Sacramento State. Sure, they gave up 30 points, but hell, San Jose State struggled a lot with Sacramento State as well. Sac State is a team that would be competitive in the Mountain West if they were in the Mountain West. Sac State will be a team that's in the FCS postseason this season. I'm not concerned at all with them only beating Sacramento State by 16. I think Sacramento State probably beats New Mexico State, but I think, again, barely. Fresno State I think Fresno State will win this game, but barely win it by more than how they beat Sacramento State. So I say 17 points. New Mexico State should be able to remain in this game and keep it in it competitively. I think they cover, but I think Fresno State dominates and wins by 17. Okay, so that's not me being high on New Mexico State. I just think the line's too much, and I think, again, New Mexico State is decent enough to stay competitive with Fresno State. But Fresno State is still one of the better teams in the Mountain West. Fresno State, San Jose State, Boise State, those are your best teams in the Mountain West this season, at least in my opinion. Let's go on now to the features. We've got 14 of them. We start off with the Thursday night game. The best game on Thursday night, no, it's probably Bills Dolphins, but still, Arizona State versus Texas State. I'm surprised Arizona State's only getting half a point, 1.5 on the road. Yeah, give me Arizona State to win. I don't think this is too hot of a take. They are 2-0. They beat up on Wyoming. They beat up on Mississippi State, and I understand it. Historically, Arizona State has played a lot differently on the road than how they have at home. Again, playing at Tempe is a whole another ball game. It is. But Texas State, yeah, they ran through UTSA last week. Sure, they've gotten all their games at home so far this season. Their next game against Sam Houston State will be at home as well. But I just think this is, again, it's a whole other animal taking on this Big 12 school in Arizona State. Arizona State's looked very good so far this season. Sam Leavitt has been good. He's been a very good game manager in all fairness, right? Their running back in Cam Scatebo, I believe his name is, something like that, has been able to really, again, run it up on some of these schools. He's got 311 yards so far in 2 games. Leavitt, again, has been a good game manager who's been able to run the football effectively in his own right. I think Arizona State controls this game, and I think they dominate on the road against Texas State. I think this game's a little bit mispriced. The only reason it's at this is because, yes, Texas State has looked good so far this season, and also because the game is in Texas. But other than that, Arizona State is by far the better football team here. Arizona State should be able to win this game. They should be able to win it pretty decisively. Give me Arizona State to win this game by about 10 points. I think they do it on the road against the Bobcats. So yeah, we're taking them to cover and for them to win as well. Next up, another Arizona school, Arizona versus K-State. This is the Friday night game, and we are going with the Wildcats. Yeah, I'm going with Arizona to win on the road, to cover and to win. Kansas State beat Tulane by 7 points. They came back and won that football game. I don't think Kansas State is that good. I think they're good, but I don't think they're Arizona good. Okay, Arizona was very questionable in that first half against Northern Arizona. They regrouped at halftime. They ended up outscoring Northern Arizona by a lot in that second half, by like 12 points, 14 points, and they won the football game. It's fine. If the defense is better, which, we'll see how they are against Kansas State. Again, they only gave up 10 points to Northern Arizona. That was more on the offense. I'm not concerned about the Arizona Wildcats offense. I'm not. Again, Fafita, McMillan, they should be able to get it going. That's really all that offense needs. McMillan's another guy that could be in the Heisman race. Again, he didn't have a great performance last week, I'll be honest with you. But still, 350 receiving yards so far the first 2 games of the season. The offense I'm not concerned with, right? That's my thing with Arizona. Their defense should be good. I think, again, they only have 10 points against Northern Arizona. I understand it's Northern Arizona, but still, they should be able to hold Kansas State somewhat. And if that's the case, the offense, all they got to do is get going. I don't think Kansas State plays the best defense. I don't think they do. Arizona should be able to go on the road and definitely cover. And I think they win too. I don't think Kansas State can stay in a shootout with this team. And I don't even know if it's going to be a shootout, because I like the defense a lot of Arizona. I think they're able to hold Kansas State a lot in parts of this game. Avery Johnson's just all right for Kansas State. Yeah, I like Arizona to go on the road and win this football game. Give me the Wildcats to win and, of course, to cover the spread as well as dogs. Okay, on to the Saturday games. Alabama versus Wisconsin. We're taking Alabama to go on the road and cover. I'm kind of a Wisconsin hater, I'll be honest. I just am. Again, they're the only school that couldn't cover in the Big Ten against Indiana last year in Bloomington. So I have my gripes with Wisconsin. But I don't think Wisconsin's that great. I don't think they are. They beat South Dakota by 14. South Dakota's not a horrible FCS school, but Alabama's just been really good this season, right? Jalen Milroe, another one of these guys that is in the Heisman conversation, right? Kalen DeBoer's got this offense going. He's got this team going as a whole too, right? Again, beating Western Kentucky, I cannot state how good of a victory that is. I think Western Kentucky's still a very good football team, and you're able to beat that team by 63 points. I understand now they're going on the road up, to Madison, but I don't think Wisconsin's that great of a football team. What do they do better than Alabama? Literally nothing. They don't do anything better than Alabama, right? Again, Alabama's getting 14 on the road here. They should win this game by 21 points at least. Wisconsin has beaten South Dakota and West Michigan by 2 touchdowns in each game. Tyler Van Dyke's just, I don't know. I've never been sold on Tyler Van Dyke. They're running the running back committee here at the backfield, which is, if they are going to remain competitive in this game, it's going to be with the backfield, because you're not going to win a football game off the arm of Tyler Van Dyke. You're just not going to. But Alabama is going to be able to score, I think, on pretty much every single drive they have in this football game. I don't think the Wisconsin defense is really able to hold them that much. I think this line has gone down. I think it opened at 16. We now got it at 14. I think Alabama wins this game. They win it pretty decisively. So give me Alabama, the Crimson Tide, to go on the road and beat up on Wisconsin and win the football game, and to cover as well. Next up, we've got LSU and South Carolina. I just felt like, we should talk about these two teams, just because these are two teams that had expectations at the beginning of the season, and now just look at them, right? And I understand, again, like they both only lost, LSU. I don't know why I messed up South Carolina for Arkansas, but LSU was a team that had expectations at the beginning of the season. South Carolina's a team that really didn't have, I didn't think they were going to beat Kentucky. I'll be honest. I didn't think they were going to, and they did, right? So now you get LSU on the road against South Carolina. I'm taking South Carolina to cover. I think LSU wins. I think. We'll see. Again, for as bad, it wasn't a bad loss LSU had to USC, right? I think they should have won the football game. I think they had a lot of missed opportunities in that football game. But I think at the same time, it's just USC's pretty good, right? So I don't think it's a horrible loss for LSU. They came back, they beat Nichols by about 23 last week. That game was kind of a little too close in the first half, but they ended up pulling away from it. It's fine. Now they get the Gamecocks this week. South Carolina again is 2-0. I was kind of down on them because the ODU game, right? Lenora Sellers didn't look great in that game, and he really didn't look great in the second game either against Kentucky. It's just that the offense got going as a whole, which is fine. But I think South Carolina leaves a lot to be desired. I think they are able to remain competitive in this football game, but I'm not high on their quarterback play. I think Sellers, again, needs a lot of development in terms of throwing the football. He's thrown at about a 50% completion rate so far this season. They don't really let him throw that much. He is more of a dual threat guy, obviously, but guys, I'll make the case Dampier is like low-key better than Lenora Sellers. I think he is. I would take Dampier over Lenora Sellers as a dual threat quarterback. I would. I think LSU again wins the football game, but I think South Carolina's defense keeps them somewhat competitive in this one. Give me the Tigers. Again, we'll see. Give me the Tigers. I think Garrett Newsomer, after a second game, after a third game now, again, should be able to get into his own. Their rushing attack's so bad, so they're gonna have to throw the football a lot, and I think they should be able to win. But I think South Carolina will cover. Let's go on to our next one now. We've got Memphis and Florida State. I just want to dunk on Florida State a little bit here. Give me Memphis to go on the road and to cover. And actually win the football game. They're going to win the football game too. Guys, Florida State is just pitiful. They're so bad. They are so horrible. And I get it. BC is not a bad football team. Georgia Tech obviously lost to Syracuse last week. It is what it is. Memphis is 2-0. They beat Troy last week. They beat North Alabama 2 weeks ago by 40. Obviously, they're FCS. 40-0 game. It is what it is. Florida State 0-2. DJ Uiagalelei, if they do not win this football game, he might get benched. He's been horrible. He's been very bad. Week off. Let's see what they got this week at home against Memphis. I think Memphis goes in there and wins the football game. I think they do. I really think Memphis goes in there and wins the football game. Seth Hennigan is not that bad. Mario Anderson, their lead back, is not horrible either, right? Memphis has always been one of these high-tempo offenses who can break through with a huge play. Again, I'll remember that from the Darrell Henderson Jr. days. Very weird thing. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here about Darrell Henderson Jr. But some of my favorite, literally, if I get the question asked me, who was my favorite player to watch in college football growing up as a kid? And I understand I was I wasn't, young watching Darrell Henderson Jr., but I'll say Darrell Henderson Jr. That guy was explosive, and he was something else in college. It's unfortunate that Darrell Henderson Jr. really never got it going in the NFL. I mean, I don't even know where is he still with the Rams. I know he came back last season. He's a free agent. He's 27 years old. Again, you know how quickly running backs get ran out the league. But Darrell Henderson Jr.'s senior year at Memphis was something else, dude. 2,000 yards, give or take, rushing, 20-plus touchdowns, was in the Heisman race, had that crazy game at home against UCF when he ran. Again, you think Ashton Genty's here this year is crazy? Go back and watch some Darrell Henderson Jr. tape from his senior year at Memphis. That's why that Memphis team in 2018 will always have a special spot in my heart. Even the 2017 year for Darrell Henderson Jr.'s junior year was crazy too, and he got injured that year. Anyways, Memphis is going to go on the road and win this football game. Florida State's pitiful. They're not good. Their offense can't get going. DJ Uyunglele again leaves a lot to be desired. Their receivers drop the football every other pass. The good passes DJ Uyunglele makes, the receivers drop the football. Their running game is nothing. Yeah, Memphis is going on the road to win and to cover as well. Give me the Tigers on the road. Represent Memphis. They're going to go out there and win that football game. Let's go into our next one now. Boston College, of course, the last team to beat Florida State, versus Missouri. So again, we talk about the best teams in the country. And I talked about possibly the 4 best teams. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss. The team that might be 5th, I understand Ohio State, but for the sake of my argument and for the sake of my narrative here, the team that might be 5th is the Missouri Tigers. That team is that good. They are going to go in there and they are going to run through Boston College at home. I think they are. I think they're going to win the football game. I think 16 is a little bit mispriced, though, I'll be honest with you. Boston College they're good enough to keep this game, I think, within 16 points. I think Missouri wins the game by 14. All right? And I understand, Missouri has not had a point scored against them so far this season. That's going to change, obviously, right? Boston College is going to be able to put up points against this team. Thomas Castellanos is a very good game manager. He just is. He's a very good game manager that can keep this team again going. He's able to again hand the ball off, and he's able to run in his own right as well. And you know when you need Thomas Castellanos to make passes, he will make them as well. Again, it's a committee of backs, right? They got Ward, Richard, they got a Robichaux as well. Again, they've got 3 really good backs at Boston College, and they split carries pretty much the entire game. I mean, you're looking at Ward's got 20 carries, Robichaux's got 25, Richard's got 19 on the season. Again, these guys are going to split the entire football game, and that's fine. That's why I think they will stay within the 16-point margin here against Missouri. They're not going to win the football game, obviously, right? Again, Missouri's a very good football team. Brady Cook is one of the better quarterbacks in college football. Again, he's not on that Heisman level, but he's in that top 20 range, I would say. Again, shout out to, again, Mizzou's coach, who at one point in time said, if Brady Cook didn't have a girlfriend, he'd try to get him to date his daughter. So, and I don't know how old the coach's daughter is. Hopefully she's of age, but it is what it is. Brady Cook's a good football player, right? This is a joke. He plays the game right. I'm sure that's what his coach has said about him. That's nothing but a joke. But Brady Cook is a very good quarterback, right? He's able to, facilitate this offense very well. I think they're able to win the football game. I don't know if they're able to cover, though. And that's not a hit on Missouri at all. I think Missouri, again, is a top 15, top 10 school, maybe top 5 school in all college football right now. I'd put them at 6 behind, again, Ohio State in that top 5. I'd probably if I had to rank them right now, I'd go Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Bama, Ole Miss, Mizzou. Those are my top 6 right now. But anyways, Mizzou should be able to win this football game. I think they're, again, one of the better teams in college football. It's not a hit on them that they're not able to cover this football game. It's just that I think Boston College is fairly decent. But Mizzou's at home. They should be able to win. So give me the Tigers to win this football game, and they should be able to cover the 16. Sorry, they will not be able to cover the 16, but they should be able to win this game by about 14 points. All right, next up is the Apple Cup, Oregon versus Oregon State. It is in Corvallis, and that's why we are going with Oregon State to cover. And this is going to be a 3-point game, I think. Oregon State's a lot better than I thought they were going to be this season. Obviously, again, half their team went to Michigan State, half their recruits went to Michigan State. But this Oregon State rushing attack is really good. Jam Griffin and Anthony Hankerson are good. These 2 guys, again, it's a committee backfield of those 2 guys, but they're really able to run the football really effectively. Giovanni McCoy, again, does what you need him to do, right? Giovanni McCoy is, primarily just a game manager, but again, he's averaged like 150 yards through his first 2 games. That's fine. Oregon State's going to beat you with their running game, and that's how they're going to, again, control the clock, control the time of possession. It's a tough game for Oregon. I really think it is. Guys, Oregon's not playing good football right now. They're not. And I don't really think it's the offense's fault. I think it's just, again, they ran into a good Boise team. They barely beat Idaho. That was a competitive game until the 4th quarter. Okay. I think I said this wrong. I said Oregon's not playing good football. They're playing good football, but they're not playing to what I thought they were going to be this season. I thought they were going to blow out those first 2 teams, right? At the beginning of the year. Once we saw them play Idaho, obviously I was like, all right, Boise's probably going to cover this line. I think Oregon's going to win, but I think Boise's going to cover. Obviously, that's what happened, right? They're not playing to the level of what I thought Oregon's going to be at the beginning of the season. I thought Oregon's probably like the number 3 team in all college football to start the season. I thought they were. Seriously, I thought it was Georgia, Texas, Oregon. I thought Oregon was 3. They're not that. They're in the top 10, but they're not playing to what I thought they were going to be. I think they're going to win this football game, but I think it's going to be competitive. When they play Ohio State in a couple weeks, I think they're going to lose. I think they are. As of now, we'll see what happens from now until early October. But as of now, I think Oregon loses to Ohio State. I think they win this game at Oregon State, but on the road against an Oregon State team that chews the clock, controls the football, doesn't give the football up much, plays very solid defense. Guys, that's a lot of points for Oregon to cover in this game. 15.5? Ooh, definitely not. No. This is a one-score game. This is definitely a one-score game. Again, Oregon State's rushing attack is very good. Their defense is pretty solid too. And again, that's against a good Oregon offense at the same time, but Oregon State's defense is really good. I think Oregon wins, but I don't think they're able to cover. I think, again, Oregon State plus 15.5, plus 16.5, wherever you can get it. I think it's one of the better bets of the weekend, I'll be honest with you. I really think it is. I had my, again, shout out to Eastern Michigan, shout out to Buffalo. I think those are good bets too, but I really like Oregon State to go in there and cover this football game. I don't think those guys are that bad. And I think, again, it's in Corvallis. Give me Oregon State to cover. Obviously, though, Oregon will win the football game. And man, do I have a lot to say about this. Ho! I am so tempted. I am so tempted to take the Boilermakers at home. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. I want to. I really want to. I really want to take Purdue here. I'm not going to do it, though. We're going to take Notre Dame to win. I'm taking Purdue to cover, though. I'm taking Hudson Card and the Boilermakers to cover this football game. They've only played once this season. We've only seen them once. They beat up on Indiana State. They beat the Sycamores 49-0, right? That's the only time we've seen them so far this season. I think they have the capability of beating Notre Dame. Will they? I'm going to take the Irish slightly. I think that game being in West Lafayette actually kind of favors Notre Dame. You get away from South Bend. You get away from the expectation after losing to Northern Illinois, which I mean is hilarious. But you get away from that expectation. Again, Marcus Freeman, again, he was getting Nick Saban comps this week or prior to the North Illinois game, right? And after beating A&M in front of 103,000 people at Kyle Field, it is what it is. You got to flush that. They now go to Purdue. Again, that might help them a little bit. I think just getting away from South Bend, getting away from all those Irish fans. Obviously, again, I believe a lot of them are going to be making the trip to West Lafayette for this one. It's like, what, a 3-hour drive. I should know this. I lived in Indiana last year. But I think Purdue remains competitive in this game. I think Notre Dame wins it by a touchdown, maybe 3 points. Riley Leonard, I don't know, man. Riley Leonard's all right. Just that throw at the end of the game, should have had him. If Riley Leonard makes that throw at the end of the fourth quarter, Notre Dame probably beats North Illinois. Misses the throw, underthrows them, and now here we are. Notre Dame's 1-1. They're still ranked higher than NIU, which is ridiculous, but it's fine. I think they win the football game, but I don't think they win it by that much. I think they win it by a touchdown, maybe a field goal. Jeremiah loves a good running back. That's what they're going to go back on. That's what they're going to fall back on. Riley Leonard leaves a lot to be desired. I think so right now, at least. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I think last game was very for him. So this is a bounce back opportunity for Riley Leonard. It's a bounce back opportunity for this entire team. We're taking on a Purdue team that's very confident. They're coming off a 49-0 victory. They had a bye week. They had a full bye week to prepare for you. I don't know. I think Purdue has a very good chance to win this football game. I want to pick Purdue, but ever so slightly, I'm going to go with Notre Dame to win the game, but definitely to cover Purdue. 100% Purdue covers this football game. I think there's a chance the Boilermakers win it outright, but give me Purdue to cover and Notre Dame to win. Yeah. I don't think the Irish lose back-to-back. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they're that bad. Give me Notre Dame to win. Let's go on to our next one here. WVU versus Pitt. We need to stop underrating Pittsburgh right now. I mean, seriously, this is ridiculous. Why is Pitt home underdogs against West Virginia? What have the Mountaineers done this season to warrant them being road favorites against a 2-0 Pittsburgh team? Like, what? I picked Pitt to go to Cincinnati and win. They did. What does West Virginia do that blows you away? I'm serious. Nothing. Seriously, nothing. I understand Pitt's without Rodney Hammond. Well, they've been fine. Desmond Reed has picked it up for him. Desmond Reed's picked it up a lot. Eli Holstein has been very good, and Eli Holstein's a guy who is a freshman, redshirt freshman, that is only going to get better as the season goes on. And again, we saw that last week at Cincinnati. He got better as that game went on. I don't mind this team at all. Again, it was a QB competition in the offseason between him and Yarnell. He won it. Okay. Now you get Pitt and WVU. Again, I like Desmond Reed a lot. He carries the load for this running game a lot, but Eli Holstein is not that bad of a quarterback too. Mumpfield, I really like at receiver for Pitt. West Virginia, again, as a 1-1 team who beat up on an FCS school last week, lost to Penn State. It is what it is. But why are they favorites on the road against an undefeated Pittsburgh team that went to Cincinnati and won last week? Yeah, Pittsburgh should be ranked. After they beat WVU, after they beat Youngstown State next week, 4-0 at the ACC, they should be ranked. Coming off a win over a Big 12 school last week, they're going to beat another Big 12 school this week. Give me Pitt to go at, and again, this game it's in Pittsburgh. I understand they don't have the best home field advantage because they're at Askew or whatever. They're at the Steelers Stadium. I understand it. They're not right next to campus, but still, Pitt should be favorites to win this game. They should win this game. I think this game will close as Pitt being the favorites. Yeah, give me Pittsburgh to win. I don't think this one's that hot of a take. Give me the Panthers to win and to obviously cover the 2.5 at home. Next up, we go to Washington and Washington State. Oh God, is this the Apple Cup? Did I completely butcher that? Did I butcher Washington State? Oh God. Wait, what is the Apple Cup? The Apple Cup, is that not Oregon versus... Oh, the Apple Cup is Washington State. Oh, that's my fault. What is Oregon State? What is Oregon State versus Oregon? Oh, that's the Civil War. Oh, man. That's my fault. Okay. That was a Civil War. Civil War is a lot cooler than the Apple Cup. Anyways, Washington State versus Washington. I think Washington wins, and I think they cover. Yeah, they've been a little bit underwhelming this season. They have. Will Rogers has been good, actually. It's just that they haven't really been they've not been putting up, the Washington numbers of last year with Penix, McMillan, Polk, and Odunze, obviously, but it's a different team. It's a different team. Wazoo actually has not been that bad this season. I don't really think Wazoo's that horrible. It's just that I think Washington's better. I think Washington, again, is, I think they're not getting that much respect on this line, considering they haven't been just steamrolling teams like they did last year, because they only beat East Michigan by 21, and Washington State is coming off a victory over Texas Tech where they beat them by 21 points. But it's a whole nother animal. It really is. It is a whole nother animal when Washington State play. Washington's going to be amped up to win this football game. Will Rogers, again, has been very serviceable for this team. Washington should be able to win. It's at Lumen, which, again, it's a neutral site game, but it's really just a home game for UW. It's it's a 10-minute train ride from campus or on the light rail. This is a home game for Washington at Lumen Field. This is going to be all Washington this week at home, basically against Wazoo. Wazoo's got to go 4 hours to go play this game. I think Washington wins it, and I think they win it pretty decisively. This is the statement and the impact game that Washington really needs, and I think they're going to get it. They're going to go out there, and they're going to beat Washington State, and they're going to control the football, and they're going to really dominate. Give me Washington to win this game by about 17, 21 points. I think that's how much better they are than Washington State. I think Washington State's a little bit overrated right now. I just think they are. It's that air raid offense. Yeah, they're going to put up points, but again, when you take on a very good team like Washington, what's going to happen to you? That's my point on that one. Give me Washington. Give me the Huskies. To our next one, we don't really have to spend that much time on this one. It's just I felt like I'd talk about it. Georgia versus Kentucky. Yeah, Georgia obviously wins the football game. They're like minus 2,000 favorites. Is anyone surprised? No. Kentucky, guys, they're coming off a 31-6 loss against South Carolina at home. I just felt like I would talk about this one considering, again, Kentucky is coming off that horrible loss. Georgia is undefeated, obviously, 2-0, best team in college football. This is hydrogen bomb versus, young child, whatever that meme is. Like, this is what this game is. Georgia will steamroll this team. They are so much better on both sides of the football. Carson Beck, again, is one of the elite quarterbacks in college football this season. Their run game as a whole has gotten really going. Nate Frazier has been good early in the season. Etienne's only ran the ball 5 times, but it is what it is. Georgia's the much better football team. If Kentucky got that done to them against South Carolina, a team that I'm not very high on at all, and again, I understand my opinion is not all that matters, but the Kentucky offense is just when Brock Vandagriff has not gotten going. The run game has not been that good. Georgia is not going to allow Kentucky to score in this game. So again, Kentucky's not going to score a point. So do you think Georgia's offense puts up more than 24 points on Saturday? Yeah, obviously. That's as simple as I can put it. That's as simple as I can put this football game for you. Georgia wins, and they cover pretty easily. Georgia is that much better than Kentucky. Georgia, again, is the best team in the SEC. Texas might have a say on that, but they're still the best team in the SEC for now. And Kentucky, I think, is bottom half. So give me Georgia to win and to cover pretty easily as well. Big Ten football. Yes, this is a Big Ten conference game, and I don't think it's that bad of a game either. IU going on the road to Pasadena to play UCLA. Give me Indiana. Yeah, give me the Hoosiers. Guys, I'm high on the Hoosiers this season, believe it or not. I think the Hoosiers are pretty good. I think they are. It was a money glitch last year to bet against Indiana in every single game that they had. This year, the Hoosiers are actually stepping up. Again, it's all the transfers from JMU. Obviously, it's Curtis Rourke, who's coming in from Ohio, right? They're just the better team between them and UCLA. They are much better. Their offense is much better. UCLA's defense is not horrible, but Indiana's offense is going to overpower whatever UCLA has on defense. And UCLA's offense, again, it leaves a lot to be desired. 16 points against Hawaii? Come on. Indiana's defense has never been the greatest, but this year they're not horrible. Really, IU is going to be one of the better teams in the country this season. I think Indiana's probably going to finish the year around the rankings. I think they're going to have trouble in Big Ten play, but this is a Big Ten game that they are going to win. Guys, I'm kind of sold on the Hoosiers right now. I am. 77 points against West Illinois. I understand it's West Illinois, but it's hard to put up 77 points against anybody. I think there is a serious chance that Indiana, again, this is a big reach here, but I'm probably going to pick them in every game until they get to this point. There's a chance Indiana is undefeated. Seriously, they are undefeated going into week 11 against Ohio State. And that is a game where the winner goes to the Big Ten championship game. Again, I might be a little too high on Indiana right now, and I completely understand that. I might be completely. But the Hoosiers offense is really good. Curtis Rourke is getting the shine on a national stage now, and he's been very good for this Hoosiers squad. UCLA again in this game, UCLA again. They leave a lot to be desired. I'm not too concerned about Indiana, but not too concerned about UCLA staying competitive with Indiana. I think Indiana runs this team out the water. I don't care. It's on the road. Yes, it is their first road test of the season. That's not UCLA's got some crazy home field advantage. The only home field advantage they have is that Indiana's got to take the 5-hour flight to California. Other than that, there's going to be nobody at the Rose Bowl. It's just UCLA doesn't have their home field advantage. Again, it's 45 minutes away from campus. No UCLA kid who isn't a big football fan is going to the games. Indiana wins and they dominate. Give me the Hoosiers. We are high on the Hoosiers this season. Indiana goes and controls that football game and wins it and covers the 3.5. UCF and TCU, just two undefeated Big 12 schools. I felt like I should talk about it, right? Again, another one of these games I mentioned earlier, I think these two teams are very evenly matched, right? UCF has looked good in back-to-back games, given against, bad opponents, but they've looked good. TCU so far beat Stanford week 1, beat Long Island 45-0, did what they needed to do against those schools, right? They were in somewhat of a dogfight against Stanford, but again, going on the road to Palo Alto and win that game by 7 points, that's not bad. It's really not a bad win. I think these two teams are very evenly matched. I think they are. And again, if these two teams are very evenly matched, like I think they are, I'm taking the home team to win this football game. At a neutral site, I really don't know who wins this football game. I really don't. KJ Jefferson has been just okay for UCF so far. Of course, his first year coming off of Arkansas, being the Arkansas Razorbacks quarterback. Josh Hoover has been really good for TCU. He's really been able to air the ball out a lot. Cam Cook's been a decent running back for TCU as well this season. I think Texas Christian, though, is just a better football team here. I think they are. I think their offense is better. I think their defense is comparable with UCF, but I just think the offense at TCU is better. I think TCU, if they were playing the teams that, again, UCF was playing, like New Hampshire and, God, who did they play last week? New Hampshire and Sam Houston, they'd be doing the same exact thing to those schools. I think so. Again, the 45-0 win over Long Island kind of shows that. TCU, Texas Christian, is the better football team here. They have the better offense, and they should be able to put up more points than UCF in this football game. I think we see somewhat of a shootout, I'll be honest with you, but I think TCU will finish this win. I think they'll be up by like 10-7 when that final horn. That's an MMA analogy, but when the clock goes to zeros, I think TCU is going to be up by 10-7, 7-10, and Texas Christian should be able to win the football game. Their offense is just better as a whole, and their defense should be able to kind of hold UCF in points. I don't think Stanford's offense is that horrible, so that's why, again, I don't think too badly of that TCU close game on the road to at Stanford. That's fine. On to our final game of the week, and I thought we'd cap it off with Colorado and Colorado State, the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Colorado, oh man, 28-10 loss against Nebraska, and again, for as bad as that is, those guys need to flush it. Shedeur needs to stop crapping on his linemen, and they need to regroup. Colorado needs to regroup because I don't think they're going to win the Big 12, but they still have a possibility of winning the Big 12 at the same time. The pathway to the playoffs is still there for Colorado. It is 100% still there. So they got to go into Colorado State and do exactly what they're supposed to do to Colorado State. They cannot get into this triple overtime or however many, this close game like they did against Colorado State last year. That was very late at night. I remember I was watching the game like at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning over in Indiana, but they cannot get in that shootout, and they have to, that defense needs to step up. The defense needs to step up, and the O-line needs to step up as well. Again, it's the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing about Colorado every single week this season, because again, it is literally the same thing every single week. The defense, needs to be able to hold Colorado State here, and the offense is good. It's just the offensive line gives Shedeur no time to throw. It's that simple. Like, okay, is Shedeur wrong? Is it bad for Shedeur to criticize the offensive lineman? Yes, it's horrible. He shouldn't do it. But is he wrong? No. Compare how many times Shedeur got hit to Dylan Raiola. He's not wrong. Should you say that? Definitely not. As the leader of the football team, should you say that? No. But is he wrong? He's not. At the same time, he's not. Colorado should have won this football game. They should win it by more than last year. They should. I think this team is better. I still think this Colorado team this year is better than Colorado's team last year. And I don't really think Colorado State is, I think they're kind of the same team as last year, I'll be honest with you. I don't think they made that many improvements in the offseason. Their offense is just very mediocre. Texas shut them down. They didn't even score a point against Texas. Colorado should win this football game 42-21. I think that's kind of where this game should be. Colorado should be able to score on every single drive this game. Colorado State's pass rush is not the greatest. Colorado should be able to easily win this one by more than 7.5. Again, we all thought that last year. It's a rivalry game. Stuff is different, but they're not going to lose Travis Hunter. Knock on wood halfway through this football game. They should be fine. Colorado should dominate this game against Colorado State. It's a statement game that they need to have before they have homecoming next week and their Big 12 opener against the Baylor Bears. They have to win this football game to get their momentum back on the road before they go take on Baylor next week. They should be fine. As long as Shedeur gets time in the pocket, he will be fine, and Colorado should win this football game. So, folks, that does it for our Week 3 predictions here with the College Football 2024 season. If you do disagree with any of the picks, make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, and make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more college football coming at you next week. We've got NFL predictions tomorrow, and of course, go check out the MMA predictions posted earlier in the week as well. Folks, thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.